So let me do that intro all over again. Like I said, yesterday was my birthday. Blah blah blah. Bucket Power, Fairly Odd Parents, Bring It On, All or Nothing. Um, what am I missing out? Even Stevens. Okay, Family Matters, The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. The boy has done it all. A legend in his own right, in my opinion, because you've been on some of the top shows in Black history. We're gonna get him in here. We're gonna chop it up with him. If you guys have any fan questions, make sure you hit that Q&A box, so it's easier for us to filter through. And let's get this thing started. Let's do it. Let's get Gary in the room. Once again, y'all, since y'all couldn't hear me because I was muffled, thank you for the birthday love yesterday too.
Peace.
What's up, Gary?
Yo,
How you feeling,
you
man?
doing? I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good, good. Did we wake you up, man?
No, no, not at all. Man, I was going about my day and I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and ask him, okay, let me double check and see do I send you a request and how we're gonna do it? And I'm like, I look and I'm like, no, it was definitely I thought 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that is my
No,
bad.
you good, man. You
Yeah,
here
yeah,
now. We're gonna have a great show.
definitely.
Um, People have been very excited to have you on, man. So I'm excited to get this thing started.
Definitely.
Um,
Same.
you've done a lot with your career, man. Like, and you still young. You've accomplished a lot, man. So
Yeah.
let's take it all the way back to the beginning. How did you even get started in the industry?
I actually was modeling, doing print modeling
Okay.
first, and I started very young, 3 years old, and I was doing print modeling for Guess and brands like that. And
Nice.
a fashion show that I did actually for Guess took me to New York, and one of the
Ooh,
producers of the fashion show was a producer from the Cosby Show, and at the
wow.
time they were having the twins grow up.
Right.
And they approached my mom at the fashion show and mentioned it to her, by passing, and she was like, "Oh, that's a nice idea," just kind of took it in stride and flew back to Chicago, and we actually got a phone call from Bill himself, and it was like,
Wow.
"No, this is serious, and we want to see him back," and flew us back to New York, and
Wow.
the rest, as they say, is history. So that was the jump.
That
Yeah,
was it. That was all.
yeah,
So,
yep.
man, so how old were you when you started the Cosby Show? Were you like 4 or 5?
I was 3.5
Three and a half.
exactly. Yeah, I
Man.
just hit 3.5. I started in October, and
Wow.
my birthday was that past February, so I was, yep, right in the middle.
Man.
And I
So
was
do
on there
you,
from 3.5 to 5 years old.
wow, that's a great run. Do you remember a lot from that time?
It's so funny. Everybody always asks me that question. I feel like people always expect me to go, nope, don't remember at all. But I remember that very vividly. It's the years sort of like eight and like in between that I don't really, it's like kind of
Yeah.
muffled. But those are very vivid, I think, just because of the experience. You don't get that kind of experience every
Yeah.
day as a young kid. So I think that that being very ingrained in my mind, being in a different city, at a very young age and going back and forth very often. So I was,
Yeah.
spending half of my time between Chicago and half my time between New York. And that experience alone, for a 5-year-old, is a lot. So I think that's why it's, so vivid in my memory, probably.
Wow. So do you
Yeah.
keep in touch with any of your Cosby Show co-stars?
Yeah, I see Raven and Malcolm the most, I would say.
Okay.
Definitely out and about with Malcolm at
Nice.
studios all the time. He produces a lot and directs a
Yeah.
lot. So I'll see him on the lots if I'm auditioning somewhere or whatever. We'll chop it up. Raven, I see, often at times. We share a lot of industry friends and colleagues.
Mhm.
So she works a lot with Patrick Ian Polk, who I work a lot with.
Yes.
So that definitely is a time where we're always at the same sort of parties or whatever. So
Right.
I see her. Yeah.
That Hollywood scene is small. You're gonna run into
Yeah.
everybody.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Once you do something with someone, especially a close knit sort of family, oriented show like that,
Yeah.
especially back in the days, that was your family. That was your
Yeah.
second family. You spent most of your time with them, versus your real family. So yeah,
Right. Because you are on set all day, every day.
exactly.
People don't know. Well,
Yeah.
not as much as a kid because they're labor laws. But yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Yes. So you went from that, you kind of like, I guess that kicked off your trajectory because you worked on Cosby Show.
Hmm.
all the way through. You said for 2.5 years, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then Slappy and the Stinkers, I believe, is what came next.
No, well, I did a sort of a run of sort of guest
Oh yeah,
stars
on
on a
Family
lot of
Matters
shows. Yeah, I did
and Fresh
Family Matters and
Prince.
Living Single, Fresh Prince in between that time.
Yeah,
I by the
don't
time I
want
hit
to leave
Stinkers,
those out.
yeah, no, by the time I hit Stinkers, I was around 10. I think I did, yeah, I was around 10 years old. So yeah, I did that sort of run in between there, and that was
Right.
that was really cool because kind of being on sort of each of those shows had its own different experience and was also
Right.
very rewarding.
Because
So
all those were staples in the '90s for Black culture. So you kind of
yeah,
got to like
yeah, I
dip
got to hop
in.
between them all. So yeah, that was really cool that I got that experience, and at the height, as it seems for all of them,
Yeah.
too, got to be a part of their sort of explosion onto to media, as you will.
Now, one of my favorite moments, you got to work with James Avery twice, and
Yeah,
one of them was by accident.
yeah.
There's a scene in Family Matters where at the end in the credits, you
Mhm.
walk in and you say that Carl Winslow does look like Uncle Phil,
Yep.
and then in walks James Avery. Like, what was that? Because did you guys know about that, or just no one knew that he was coming to set? Or
Yeah, by that time I had already worked with him on Fresh Prince, and
right,
so they had mentioned it to us in the table read actually, and at the table read it was like we might have James Avery show up, ha 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 ha, like kind of like a joking thing, and then at the show, people were saying I think James Avery is here. I think James is here. And it was just whispers, and my mom came up to me and she said James is in the green room. And I was just like, oh, I guess that he's gonna be here. But we weren't supposed to say anything because it was supposed to be this huge surprise. So that's why it
right,
was kept so hush, because they didn't want, Reginald, who played the father on Family Matters, they didn't want him to know. So it
right?
was one of those things that they were really, really keeping it close knit. But my mom found out and told me, and then I eventually kind of just kept it hush, and we surprised him, and it was amazing.
Yeah, because you can't fake that. Like you could see the look on his face in that
Oh
moment. You
yeah,
guys
no,
have
he
never
was he was
seen
and
that
they
film.
were such close friends, so it was great for him to have that moment, and that's one of those moments you will never get anything like that,
Right.
again. You just that crossover, that line, that specific
Wow.
time, it's just
Man,
that moment is very special, definitely.
that was awesome. So I mean, so even going back to that, you got to play young Carlton on Fresh
Mhm.
Prince.
Yeah.
Man, so you got to work with some legends. Did you get to cross over and actually meet Will Smith while you were there?
I did. With sitcoms, it was shot through. So,
Yeah,
they had that live studio audience, and so even though it was an episode where it could be very separate, in today's day and age, the way things are shot, I would
yeah,
probably have never even met Will. But
right.
back then, in a sitcom situation, that whole show takes place over the span of like 20 something odd years. So all
Yeah,
of those scenes took place in that 3 hour shoot, 4 hour shoot that we had. And so, yeah, I
yeah.
got to rehearse and all that stuff with them. And yeah, they're
Nice.
amazing at that time. And me and Tatiana, we stayed in touch and working on
Awesome.
projects together and everything. So I love that cast. They're amazing. Yeah.
You me, Miss Tatiana Ali.
Yeah.
That's, that was my crush growing up. So yeah,
Who didn't, who was it, like, it was
right.
her, and and also the other actress who played Hillary on the
Hillary. Yep.
I'm blanking on her name. Oh
I
man,
got
she's
that.
gonna kill me too. But yes, it was
She'll never
any
know.
of those.
It's
Yes, it's okay, it's okay.
So one big movie I remember watching this repeatedly in my childhood. Leah brought up Slappy and the Stickers.
Right.
Um, you said you
Which
did
is
that around the
which is hilarious, by the way, that you say you remember watching it repeatedly, because I feel like Slappy and the Stinkers is one of those like real cult classics. Like it's really,
yeah.
you either have no clue that it ever existed or you watched it every day. No
We
in
were a
between.
movie family though, so we watched like any kids movie that came out. My mom took us to the movies to see it, or we got from
Mhm.
Blockbuster, and we
Yeah,
would watch any kids movie that came out. But now that I think about it, I think she was just trying to keep us busy.
right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep,
But yeah,
yep. Looking back,
it's
right?
right. Looking back on wow. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
But no, so that was a it's a very crazy movie. I looked over some of it today, and I was like, this movie is so wild and random.
Wow.
You guys were
It
basically
is.
the Little Rascals with the sea lion.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, and that's what it was described as, even auditioning. That's what literally was in like the breakdowns. They were like, "This is what we want you to think about this film. This is Little Rascals times 10," and that was one of the appeals of it, really, like going into it. And as a kid, as especially that age, going
Yeah.
to audition for something, reading that, and you're like, "I get to do what?"
What?
And
Right.
act with what? The sea lion? I was like, sign me up. And I was so thankful that I got that, because it was to this day probably top 3 most fun projects I've ever worked on, for
I was
sure.
gonna say,
And
I'm sure the
I have
process.
lifelong friends from that project. I have people that I still talk to,
Nice.
so yeah.
What was the
As a matter of
process
fact,
like?
tidbit, which I don't know if you guys know, the main actor in Slappy and the Stinkers, Joseph Ashton, played Otto in Rocket Power, which I also worked on. So
Right.
there you go. Yep.
Fun fact.
Fun
That we
fact.
learned in the day.
Yep. Hey.
Yes. So, how was the process filming with the sea lion? Were you guys? Because what I was noticing in it, they did a lot of cuts where it was just the sea lion, and then you guys. Were there a lot of cuts back and forth where they had to just get shots with you guys not too close to it, or were
You
you
know
guys
what's
very
crazy?
active?
We were very active. We did Sea Lion Camp for 3 weeks, and
Wow.
we were trained and everything. We were
Nice.
fluent in commands and everything. Just that young, and we were very hands on with both of the sea lions, because we had two.
Okay.
PJ, my favorite, we worked with the most. And he was the one that was really in a lot of the shots with the kids. He was young. He was a
Okay.
very young sea lion. So he was very, boisterous, had a lot of energy, never really tired out. So they
Nice.
the most. But yeah, I think those cuts were just necessary just for catching good angles of the sea lion. Sometimes if
Yeah.
it was both the kids and us, in the sea lion in the same shot, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
as good for the camera. So that was probably just all that was. But we worked very closely with them, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know there were two sea lions.
There were
I didn't know
two.
he had a favorite.
Yeah, the kids loved PJ. He was definitely very human, to be a sea lion in every way. Like, hated all of the sort of quote unquote vegetable fish, and
Oh wow.
only liked like the junk food fish. And we loved giving him, like, sneaking him the junk food. And all the trainers were like, "You guys, you can't keep giving him herring, please don't. That's like, you're gonna make him fat." And it's just like, but we're 10, so it didn't matter.
Yikes. So, man, you got to play very iconic roles, including young Tiger Woods.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how was
Yeah,
that, man? Was
that
there a
was
lot of
fun.
pressure with that?
Looking back, I feel like I should have taken it. I should have felt like it was more pressure,
Yeah,
because I definitely didn't. It was just really fun to play
right,
someone that I was watching. And at that
right,
time, that was the first time that I had done that. I've played other characters that existed, throughout history since then, but I felt like that time was my first time. And to go through golf, I was trained, for 4 weeks, for that, by a PGA
okay,
Tour specialist. And yeah,
wow,
no, it was intense. But then it was just fun. I was just
right,
learning how to play golf, at that point. So I felt like now, if I were to do that now, I would feel way more pressure. But as a
yeah,
child and doing certain roles, you just jump into it. You're just
yeah,
having fun. And that's the upbringing, that if you have that sort of base, then you don't really feel that pressure. You're just out there doing your job.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
you had that carefree and that innocence as a kid, so you don't really think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, one thing I love is that your career is so versatile, because you've done the biopic roles, you've done the comedy, but you've also done voiceover, as you just said. You were
Yes.
on Rocket Power,
Hmm.
which I learned recently when Nickelodeon decided to do a Black History Month post about all the voice actors.
Yeah.
And I was like, he played who?
Yeah.
He played Sam? He played Squid?
Yeah.
So I
No,
think that's the thing that blessed me about it is I saw an article about people talking about white actors who have voiced black
Mm.
cartoon characters, and that
Mhm.
shocked me because we have a black actor who has now voiced a white cartoon character,
Mhm.
and did an amazing job because I didn't know. I thought you were Caucasian. Um,
Thank you.
but some other ones notable, Clifford, and of course we have some Fairly Odd Parents fans in there.
Yes.
AJ. So
Yes.
yeah, which was my show. I loved Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a
Really,
Rocket
it's
Power
really
fan.
fun.
Oh, my producer
Hey,
behind Rocket Power fan. I love Rocket Power too, but Fairly Odd
woogity
Parents,
woogity.
I
Rocket Power is my jam.
yes, woogity 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 woogity.
Wiggity, wiggity,
Yeah.
wiggity.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I loved, Rocket Power was so funny because the story behind that was I got that on accident almost.
Wow.
I was seeking new agents at the time, and I was really, thinking about voiceover, but it wasn't, and especially at the age that I was at, it wasn't
Yeah.
really common at all for someone of my demographic to be in voiceover.
Mm.
Voiceover was mainly, older,
Yeah.
Caucasian, white, and male and female, and so.
Yep.
With for any role almost, and so when it came to a
Almost any.
young black boy, that was unheard of. And so when I went to this agent to sort of interview with them, they actually had me read a copy from Rocket Power, and it was more so
Wow.
the dialogue for the auditions. And
Yeah.
in reading, I was in the booth, and they did it professionally so they could hear me on tape. And after the interview, Arlene, she sent in the tape, and I ended up booking it. And
Wow.
we had signed with them, but literally at the signing, they were like, "We got a job, for you, by the way." And
Wow.
and so it was one of those things that just sort of fell right into place the way it
Right.
should have. And from that point on, my relationship with Nickelodeon through the years have been, amazing. Going
Yeah.
from that, to Fairly Odd, and a handful of others, and it's been great. Voiceover has been one of the things that is so you don't think of it at all because it has so many
No.
different levels. You could be a voiceover artist that completely eats off of radio commercials because you hear
Yeah.
those all the time, and and people do those all the time, and
Yeah.
or you could be someone who does a character on a cartoon, and it's so rewarding. You don't think about it that way, but
Yeah.
it's definitely really cool.
You show up to work in sweatpants and a hoodie and just
It's
do your
beautiful.
thing.
It's so great. It's so great. We're like, oh, I just woke up. It's fine. It's
Listen,
amazing. You'd
I
be
love
surprised how many of
ADR
us
days.
do it in our pajamas. It's all the time, all the time.
Yes. I've done one voiceover project, but whenever I have to do ADR for a project, those are my favorite days. I can just throw on
Oh yeah,
whatever, and I'm just
yeah.
in the booth with my
Doesn't
tea.
matter.
Just
Yep,
do your thing and go.
exactly.
By the way, y'all, make sure that you guys are still putting in those fan questions. We are going to get to them. We're going to
Yes.
make sure that we answer all of those. So the interesting thing I found out is that you were actually replaced the original voices on Rocket Power and Fairly Odd Parents for both of
Hmm.
them. You came in on
Yeah.
season 2 for both of them.
Correct. Correct.
um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That was interesting. For Rocket Power, I believe it was a scheduling thing with the original actor. And I came in, and thankfully, like I said, with that relationship was just really beautiful to have, and they were looking for someone very quickly, and I was able to step in and provide what they needed. And thankful that the show kept going on from that point, and I was able to serve more than one season was really cool because that isn't always often. And so, and then with Fairly Odd Parents, I mean, that was Rocket Power times 10 because Rocket Power went for I believe 5 seasons, and
yeah,
Fairly Odd went to I think 18, and I was at
did
16
it?
of those. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
because
with
eventually AJ and Chester stopped showing up, and I was confused. I'm like, what?
right. That
Where's
was the
AJ?
last, I believe, two or three seasons, I believe, and they had Poof come in, which was the baby
Baby,
fairy,
yeah,
and that was really cool, But at that point, I had already done 16 seasons, and so that's way more than you could ever ask for,
listen,
coming into that, and especially sliding into a role that someone
right.
else had already previously done. But yeah, that was a really interesting time too, because I eventually worked with the actor that I replaced with Fairly
Wow.
Odd Parents. Yeah, yeah, that was an interesting day.
I hear a lot of those stories. I think the funniest one I've heard like that. Have you ever heard the story about James Marsden in the Goofy movie?
No, no.
He got the role of Max, but they
Okay.
didn't think that he had the voice to sing, so they got another voice actor to sing his part.
Right.
And he ran into him at an audition. He was like, "Hey, how'd that Goofy movie audition go?" He was like, I think it went good." And he was like, "Yeah, they just had me to come in to sing for the guy that booked it because apparently he can't sing." And James Marsden wasn't supposed to say that he got it yet. And the guy's up here telling him, "I'm singing for you because you can't sing." So yeah,
That's bad.
That's
Yeah, mine isn't that bad,
right.
but I would say that the person that I replaced didn't know that they had been replaced. I will say that. And that was the interesting part because they were just
That's good.
basically like, "Oh yeah, I do Fairly Odd Parents." I was like, "Oh, I do too." And they were like, "Oh, which role do you play?" And I was like, "AJ." And they were like, "I play AJ." And I was just like, "Hmm." So yeah, that was really awkward. But
They
yeah,
got
that
two
was
AJs.
right. Yeah, but that was interesting. That was
Question.
an interesting day on set for sure.
All right, we're gonna jump into the first fan question. Let's see what we got. Chloe.
Nice.
Alrighty, here we go. How do you remain consistent in your passion?
That
Mm.
is so cool the way you guys did that. Oh, that is dope. Um, um, wow. I'm a consumer above everything else. I think a lot of people in my position, actors, often forget that to be a consumer is to really truly love what you do. And for me,
That's true.
um, just feeding myself with things and with actors, with new talent and new writers and new directors, it keeps me consistent because I'm constantly trying to elevate and reinvent myself in the ways that I see my peers doing it. And
Yeah.
if you keep that mindset, you can never really sort of tap out. I think a lot of people get to that point where they make enough money or they do the big thing
Yeah.
and then kind of tap out. And it's like, but now you're not passionate and now you're not consistent because you don't have that sort of hunger. And I think just to feed yourself with it is good enough. Definitely for me.
That's good. You got one more, Chloe?
All right, our next question is from Mr. Playwright. He says, "Who's one actor or actress that you hope to work with?"
Um, well, my favorite actor is Edward Norton. Well, male, I'll say male actor, Edward Norton. And if I got the chance to work with him, oh man, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. Um, I love him for his versatility. He's a true chameleon in my aspect. I feel like those actors where you hear about a movie and you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that movie," and then you're like, "Yo, Edward Norton was in. Oh, he did
Yeah.
do that." I love those actors because those are the ones that have truly blended into that character so much that you're not seeing, every Tom
Yeah.
Cruise movie, I see Tom Cruise, and that's not a knock at Tom Cruise, at all, because Tom Cruise does Tom Cruise very well.
Right.
But, I feel like that other side of the coin of great actors is the ones that's truly just meshed into the character. And you're just
Yeah.
like, you remember the
Just
character,
transform.
and you never remember. And that's why a lot of people always joke around about, that whole adage of that one guy. People
Yeah.
always say, "You're that one guy." But I love that. I love that for some reason
Yeah.
because, to not be known by my name, I feel like then I'm known for the characters. I'm known for my work,
Yeah.
and people is remembering that character. I remember that character,
Hmm.
and I love that. So, yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. So when people say, "Hey, you that one guy," I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I'm not gonna
Thank
look
you.
at it
Thank you.
negatively.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That's dope.
That's dope. He change your perspectives, Gary.
Change the narrative. Love
Thank
that.
you.
That's good.
Okay, we got another question from the Jor. How do you
Mm,
get over creative blocks?
Ooh, that's a
it's a
good
good
one.
one. The funny thing is, I think I get creative blocks in my sort of side hustles more than I do acting. I'm always very hungry with acting, and every new thing that I get, I'm always trying to attack it in my way. And so every little piece of dialogue, every audition, I'm going at it, full speed. So
Yeah.
that is very difficult for me to have a block, just because that's always my number one hunger. When it comes
Hmm.
to other things, though, things that I had to train myself in, like writing or even painting more recently. It's very much let it be, situation, because the forcing for me is when I build up frustration and I'm testing myself at that point. And so I think that for me, it's more so just breathing and just letting it just ease out. Let me stop, take a second and just have a sort of space around it where I don't touch it, and then let it come back to me. That's always good for me. I have paintings where I literally start a little bit and I'm like, oh, I can't finish this at all. And eventually now I have a full thing. I come back to it a week later and I spit it out in 30 minutes.
All right, we're gonna get to some more fan questions in a little bit.
Yes.
We're gonna jump back in. Some that you're most known for. If you had the Disney Channel, there's no way you did not know about this show. Even Stevens. You got to work with the Shia LaBeouf, Christy Carlson Romano. The Shia LaBeouf.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Man, what was that time like? Because you were a Disney kid at that point. That's what most little kids dream of.
Full on. Yeah. That was a great time. That cast and joining that, because they were already in it by the time I had joined.
Did you join season 2?
No, I think I joined season 3 of that. I switched it up a little bit, right.
Well, Wikipedia lied to me then. Okay.
Was it season 2? That would be insane if that was season 2, because then I'm just like a season 2 joiner. I don't know.
Okay. Well, according to Wikipedia, it says season 2 through 3. So
hey, then maybe it was. Wow, that's crazy. So season 2 is my thing, I guess. But yeah, no, they had already had a setup and everything and joining that family. And the funny thing is me and Shia were probably the closest out of everybody. And that was my boy. And we got in trouble, together, throughout the day. We spent, the whole time there, basically. We had a whole full-on schoolhouse, basically, on set, and, so our days were spent in class, coming out of class, go to set, recreational time, go back to class, go back to set, and that was our daily routine for 5 days out of the week. And so, that was really cool to have that. But yeah, no, it was amazing. That whole cast and that experience, and Shia was a genius at that time. And, and I will say it, he's bored. I'm gonna say it right now, because just the acumen that he displayed at that time, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I will let this go. There were times where literally in the script, he didn't have any dialogue written for him. It would just say his character, and he's just winging it. He's just winging it, like a lot of that time.
Now, see, I thought that at one point. I was like, I feel like they just let him go.
Oh yeah,
Looking back on it now,
he was full on writing dialogue for them.
Wow.
As a 14-year-old, we were because he's like 3 years. He's 3 years older than me, I think. Yeah, he was writing dialogue, full on 14-year-old. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Now, one question I definitely got to ask. Somebody asked it on the questions that I had put out earlier. This is a Facebook question from Elise Jefferson. She said, "Were you really singing during the musical episode?"
So there's a funny story about the singing. So I don't think I can sing. I don't think I can sing. Okay, and so I have been in choirs. I've been in music groups. Okay, full on recorded albums. Okay, and
really?
Yes, but but no, we can talk about it. I'm just playing. But when it comes to that, we went into the studio. I sang. They go, we want it to be funny, And so my thing is for a person who doesn't think they can sing, the only way that I'm gonna ever sing is like actually trying to sing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but you know what I mean? Like, I can't sing funny because I don't think I can sing regular. So how you want me to, make it funny? I
already think I sing funny now.
Exactly. So literally that's what happened. They're just like, we want it to sound different. So that is my voice, but super pitched and having adages to it. So they just funkified it, and yeah, it's hilarious to me, but I thought it was funny even then, because I was like, yeah, you could have used my regular voice and it would probably just been just as funny. But yeah, who knows?
They said you put it out there now about the boy bands.
Hey, oh, see, yeah, no, I did. It was funny because if you caught, MTV did a, oh, man, I'm trying to remember the year. I don't remember the year, but it was a boy band show where they were auditioning boy bands. At the time, I was part of one. We did go
Wow.
to the MTV audition. We made it past the first round, and and then got kicked out. But we recorded a full on album. We had a development deal with a record label, and our lead singer decided that he wanted to pursue medicine. And yeah, you know,
That's so
hey,
rare.
I mean, he did it, and that my thing
Right.
was like, you better be a doctor, you know, like, but he did
Right.
it,
You
so
can't
it's
be
fine,
mad at
it's fine.
that. I want to be a
Right,
doctor.
but yeah, no, and it was so crazy though because we were really ahead of our time, to be honest. We wrote and produced a lot of our stuff, and
Wow.
we to this day, it's so funny because the songs that we wrote back then get repurposed. One of the other lead singers is still an artist by the name of EQ. Shout out my brother EQ. He just released a new song. Shameless plug, sorry.
No, no,
But
we love learning new music too.
he's still using music from the stuff we recorded
Wow.
as a group, and it still
That's dope.
holds. And that's how you know. And I'm like, every time I hear like a song and he'll have a verse from then, and I'm like, yo, that's the verse from the song you should do.
Right.
He's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, wow, like it's still, how does that still sound good? That's 10, 11 years ago,
Yeah.
more than that, more than that. That's
That's how
15
you know
years
you
ago.
made good music though.
Hey, but shout out to us being good writers at 16.
All right. We got some more fan questions, Chloe.
Let's see what we got.
Let's see.
All right.
Boom, boom.
While she's looking out, Christy has her own YouTube channel where she brings
She
on some
does.
old cast members and people. Have you been asked to go on yet?
We have been in talks. I had commented on a video of hers, and someone said something about Nelson, and she hit me up, and she was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Hey, anytime you want to do it." So we're definitely going to probably pursue that once all this quarantine stuff lets up, and
Nice.
yeah, we'll see what happens. Because that was literally right before everything happened, when I realized she had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I got on a bad binge on it one day. It was crazy.
Yeah, she's got
All
good
right.
stuff.
Kirsten wants to know, what was the experience like filming Bring It On?
Oh, perfect, because we were getting into that next.
Just the perfect
Yeah.
segue.
Man, that was amazing. A lot of people don't know, but I knew both Francia and Giovanni before filming that. And
Nice.
so, booking that with friend, we auditioned together, called back together, and booked it together. And that probably never, ever happens. And so, yeah, going in and having those stages with everyone was so cool. And I think they probably did it on purpose. They probably kept us together for the chemistry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well,
But
actually,
yeah,
Francia just talked about that. She did a workshop I just did, and she talked about you and Giovanni. She was like, I got to work with some of my favorite people.
there you
And I was
go.
like, that's so crazy because she's coming on the show this too.
Nice. Yeah, no, it was really cool because that's something, especially in those movies, that you can kind of tell, especially nowadays, where you're
Yeah.
like, man, that chemistry is way off. They just look like, a bunch of 30-year-olds trying to pass off as high schoolers, like
Right.
y'all didn't know each other, and so with that, it was like, not only did we look like, believable and passable, but we felt like we were high school friends, and that
Yeah.
goes a long way. And I think that was why that film, that sequel in particular, resonated with people so much because they're on, I think, what, 9 or 8 or something like that,
Who
and
knows?
people
If it ain't
remember,
blew
yeah,
up by
right,
now.
people remember that one, though. That one sticks out for
Yeah.
people. I think that says a lot in that aspect.
Now we have a clip, Chloe, if you want to throw this up.
Let's see what we got.
Because people bring this up a lot. We're gonna let her throw it up. And let's
Okay.
see what you guys say about this, because
Okay.
you got it.
Ooh wee. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is the one that's been recirculating.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. You guys gonna play the whole clip, huh? Oh geez.
Yeah, you got some
Wow.
explaining to do.
I thought we were gonna cut this off.
No, no. Well, at
Mm,
least it's not the part where
indeed.
your dad said. But
Right. Hey, listen. I will fully back up my reasonings.
yeah, it
I got
wasn't
you back
bad
up.
though. It was like
Huh?
you went and was like, boom, boom, bam, and
You
then
know, listen, so okay, I'm gonna start it by saying that this was actually choreographed by founders of Crump. Okay, so a lot of speculation has always been talked about, like, oh, you know, that the founders of Crump, they would hate, they would look at that and be like, oh, that's horrible. But no, they were there. We were literally taught by Lil C,
They were
Baby
there.
they were there.
they were there. But the issue was is that obviously, if you know what Crump really is, if you've seen the movie Rise, if you've seen YouTube clips of what Crump is, or if you've been to, in LA, one of the battle zones, like you know that probably couldn't actually fit in that movie. And
Right.
so what happened was we got toned down. We got toned down a lot, because if you're here and you have all of this stuff happening, and then all of a sudden somebody gets clocked in the mouth, it's like that just doesn't fit in a Bring It On movie, and that happens a lot, in Crump Battle.
Crump.
So that's one of those things that we just kind of got, sort of PG'd, if you will.
Yes.
But that
Yes.
clip is
Put back
hilarious
up the
because
picture of you from. Oh, okay.
Hayden tried really hard. She was trying so
She
hard.
did. She did with her little.
So I thought the ADR really did her a disservice, because I'm like, okay, it's bad enough that she's doing this movement, whatever that is. It's like
And then
a churn. It's like a milk churn malfunction. Okay, and then you have the ADR after, because she didn't make that sound on set,
I
and then
didn't
you
think
have
so.
her go in, and it's like, how are you looking at that? And you're like, I'm gonna do this. It's like, no, oh no. Now we have this clip, and now everybody's laughing at it, and it's like, just
even
should have left that part alone. Yeah,
yeah, Kev on stage brought it up. I saw you go defend like, hey man, hey.
yeah. We tried.
And I heard that it was a little bit more raunchier, and the studio heads came and was like, hey,
Yeah.
gotta bring it down.
Oh yeah, because I mean that's what it is. That's really the style, and it just wasn't. It wasn't gonna happen. Miss Pretty definitely visited set a couple of times and was talking with Hayden. So, and she's one of the other founders of Crump. So it's like, there were definitely chances to get a real experience, but it just wouldn't have fit. And they realized that very early on. They were like, you know what? We might have made a mistake a little bit.
Right.
Might have jumped the gun.
Yeah, just a tad.
You guys had an amazing cast for that, including Solange Knowles.
Yes.
Like, amazing singer, amazing actress.
Yeah.
How was it working with her?
Hilarious enough. I had worked with her sister, Beyonce,
Flex.
years prior. Yeah, a couple years prior on a Pepsi commercial. I did a Pepsi commercial with Beyonce.
Oh, the Crazy in Love commercial.
Yes, that was me. Big hair. Kind of almost how it's about to be right now because it's quarantine. But
listen, you see this coming up.
Look, listen. But yeah, no. At that shoot,
I don't know how I forgot
wonderful shoot, by the way. She's amazing. And but she had told me about her, so she's like, you know what? I got a sister about your age, talking it up. I was just like, yeah, I didn't even really know who Solange was at the time. And then fast forward, a couple years later, and I'm working with Solange, and I tell Solange, I was like, I worked with your sister. And literally the next day, Beyonce's on set. There was like, I was like, oh wow, So no, it was really cool working with her. She's amazing. They're both amazing. Yeah.
Nice. So he know everybody. He know the Knowles family. Do you still go to Christmas dinner and everything?
No. I don't have no Ivy Park on my driveways. Like, trust me.
They didn't ask you to babysit Blue Ivy? Nothing?
No, listen, who you think taught her how to rap? Come on, man. You thought that was Jay? Come on.
I figured. I heard that. I said, that sound like Gary bars. That's see? Man, that's crazy. So you just you've been blessed to work with people that like everybody would just like think are untouchable, and you've had the chance to just be a
You
regular
know,
person and work with them.
I,
You
I,
know,
I didn't really realize that until I got into like my late 20s, like how
yeah,
crazily blessed I was, like through that to work with and again, people at the height of their stardom. You know, this wasn't, you know, Will after he had done a couple films and people are like, oh, okay, we tired of Will. You know,
yeah,
this was like Will, like, please do my movie, Will. Like I got to work
yeah.
with that Will, and I got to work with this person or Monique at right as she won her Oscar. Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like that stuff really is cool to me that, you know, I kind of intersected at that point
man.
for everybody. And I sponged it up, you know, every time, you know, because at that point they were at their height. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to
Yeah.
soak it all.
Speaking of Monique, let's talk about Blackbird.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't know about this film. It's a completely underrated film, in my opinion. Awesome
Yeah.
film. Great message. Deals with
Hmm.
a lot of stuff that people are scared to talk about.
Yeah.
So we talked about the church. We talked about sexuality. We talked about, you know, the coming of age as a teenager, trying to find out who you are and understanding who you are.
Right.
Um, all these crazy things that we kind of make taboo in the Black community.
Hmm.
How was it working on that film? How'd you get involved with that one?
Well, I had previously worked with the director and writer Patrick Ian Polk on another film, Noah's Ark: Jumping the Broom.
Okay.
And once we did that film, I got really close with him. Wonderful guy, wonderful creator. And they, you know, called me directly when they were producing Blackbird, the pre-production of it. And
Mm,
he asked me, he said, you know, would you want to do this? And sent me the script and had me read it over. And I really loved the character, you know, resonating with that. And a lot of people who don't have the DVD of Blackbird and who only saw it in theaters don't know that a lot of Ephraim, my character, his story is largely cut out of the film and
yeah.
where it was released. And so there's a lot of deleted scenes as far as my backstory that you can get, you know, when you purchase the DVD. And so that's was what really drove me, you know, reading his story. And
Yeah.
from that point, as soon as he sent it to me, you know, I sent him a tape, you know, for the producers, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I definitely loved that experience. It's definitely my probably favorite role to date. You know, especially if we're not including voiceover, because of where I got to go for that, for sure.
Nice. Yeah. It's an awesome movie. I love Monique in it. I love
Mhm.
the range for everybody. A lot of people you saw in the movie that you see in other stuff, you didn't see them in roles like that before.
Right.
And didn't
Yeah.
really see them in roles like that after. So I thought it was a great story. If you guys have never seen Blackbird, I'm pretty sure you can find it on some type of
It's on
streaming
Amazon.
service.
It's
It's on
definitely on
Amazon.
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 It's on
Boom.
Amazon.
But if you
And
want to see
the
deleted
lead,
scenes, go buy the DVD. Okay.
right, and right, exactly. The lead, who is in that film, Julian Walker, that was actually his first role ever, and
I
he did
remember
an
him
amazing
saying that.
job.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. He's on social media and everything. He just released a poetry book as well. So
Nice.
he's a very underrated poet. So check him out for sure.
Look at him plugging everybody else. See,
Hey,
very my
hey,
type of guy.
my people gotta come with me. That's all.
Listen,
That's all.
we do that. That's what the kickback is all
Yes.
about.
Yep.
Promoting people,
Yep.
putting it out there. We always promote Black clothing lines, entrepreneurs, just anybody that's
Yes,
doing
sir.
anything. We put y'all out there. So
Yep.
I want to talk about, you did go to school at one point. Because I
Yes.
think a lot of people in the entertainment industry, we don't think education is important
Right.
anymore.
Right.
So tell
Definitely.
us what made you go back to school and what you studied and majored in.
Yeah, I was really advanced in school at early on, and
Yeah,
so I was able to really kind of sort of stop, start, and thankfully because of the work that I was doing, it really did fit. But I really had a normal school experience besides the sort of stop, start time.
yeah,
I went to school. You know, a lot of times people who are in my position are homeschooled, or you know,
yeah.
they're very largely just schooled on set. But you know, I went to high school. I went to, you know, K through eighth, you know. And so
Nice.
really what happened was, you know, as I graduated and you know did my first year of college, I went to film school. And I got into other places. I actually got into NYU, but I just didn't want to be far from my folks. And
Yeah.
and then that also in my mind not only took me away from my people, but that took me away from my job. Because
Right.
I'm working in California. What am I going to do in New York? And so that was really on my mind at that time. And that at that time I was also, a teenager, and I was really like, I'm not trying to uproot everything, no way. So
Yeah.
I went to go ahead and went to school at Brooks Institute of Photography, which had a budding film school at the time, and now they're like one of the top in the nation. So shout out to them. But at the time, they were literally only 3 years old. But they,
Wow.
they were talking to me, and they just had great facilities, great programs, just really the things that I needed, understanding teachers who worked in the business at
Yeah.
the time. And so they understood actors and, their time off for school. So
Nice.
yeah, that was really what I did. I did that for a year and a half, and then I booked Bring It On. And that
Wow.
was why I had to stop for that time. And after Bring It On, I went back to school and completed my general eds at Pierce College in LA. I also attended UCLA for some classes too to finish up. And
Nice.
yeah, but that was really, what I did. I did what I could to get what I could, at the time. And I always definitely say I want to go back. School for me has always been one of those things where I had to challenge myself because, especially early on, I wasn't challenged enough, and so I did get bored and lax off.
Totally.
But I was still able to keep, even what I had with, what I was working on. So I'm very thankful for that, and that actually grounded me in journalism, which started my love for writing. And going
Nice.
to school, had I not pursued journalism, that was my major. Had I not pursued journalism, I wouldn't have had that. So I'm very thankful for that, for sure.
Dope. So, guys, he's an actor, he's a writer, he's a
Yeah.
painter. You have
Published journalist. Published
published
journalist.
journalist.
Hey.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. Correct me.
You know?
Yes. What else do you have going? Do you have? I thought I read something about your own production company, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I have Gray Skies Entertainment, Gray Skies ENT, which is a production company focused on pre-production services. So we
Nice.
mainly focus on taking your idea and making it passable, making it pitchable. If you have something that you just, oh, I can't put it to paper. I know this is a great idea, but I don't know how to convey that. I specialize in taking those ideas, those scattered things, and making it a package that you can go sell, or whether you can trust in me to produce myself. And so, that's really what I want. That was something that, I could, force the issue and go look for investors and, have a
Yeah.
full-fledged production company. But being at ground zero, where you're helping people take that very minuscule idea and then getting it to that level, has been just so great and rewarding. And I wouldn't have it any other way. You get really into the politics when you have that sort of full-fledged production company idea. So focusing on
Yeah.
pre-production is great because it's people who really just don't have any other way and just need that one little push to be like, yes, that's it. That's what I mean, and that's it.
That's dope. So
Yeah.
we probably gonna be talking at some point.
Yeah.
Man,
Definitely.
yes. Now we got a little game for you if you're
Okay.
down to play. It's
Let's
called
do
Who
it.
Said That? So
Oh no.
yes, I'm gonna read a line that you said on
Okay.
one of your projects, a movie, TV show, and you have to tell me which character said it. Are you ready?
Ooh. Okay. All right.
The first one is really easy. You ready?
Okay.
Hey, Buffy, ready to be my baby's mama?
Tyson, bring it on.
Tyson, bring it on. Yes. All
Definitely.
right. Next one. No one man can own the internet. I know. I've tried.
That could be. Could that be AJ?
It was AJ.
Hey, all right.
I'm about to say he did 18 seasons. This.
Man, listen, that was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of lines to remember that one.
Yes. Let's go. This next one. Well, if my dad was on his way here, I'd be getting an embarrassment rash in places I'm too embarrassed to tell you about.
I'm gonna say Squid, Rocket Power.
No, it was Nelson, Even Stevens.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. The other scaredy cat. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's why I said that to Chloe. I said, I bet you he gets these two mixed up.
Yeah, that could be either or for sure. All right,
All right, next
you
one.
got me.
How does it feel to be a card carrying hetero?
Ha! It's definitely Ephraim.
Yes. Ephraim from Blackbird.
Blackbird, yes.
All right, now this last one may be hard. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. I'm too skinny. It won't budge.
No, that is Domino, Slapping the Stinkers.
Yes.
I know that one. I'm too skinny, it won't budge.
Yes.
I was trying to push the thing. Man, that was a real thing. That was real. That was definitely
Oh
real.
my God.
Yeah, a lot of those stunts in that movie were real, by the way.
Yeah, stunts were more dangerous in the 90s, y'all. They have a lot of
Definitely.
stunt doubles and stuff.
Yeah. It was like, hey, kids, write, sign on this line here. You might die. It's okay.
Oh no, who was it? I think the Spy Kids were talking about how they hung them from harnesses
Oh,
for
Alexa.
hours.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
yeah, one of my best friends growing up, Corbin Blue, who was on High School Musical, the kid with the
yes.
poopy hair, he actually did Alexa for a while. So I know Alexa through him. And yeah, no, they were hung, strung up. I mean, even on Slapping the Stickers, that flume, you know, when the bathtub is going down, that's not like a studio or anything. We went down a flume, like in a bathtub, into a big pool of water with a big balloon. Yeah, no, it was intense. Yeah,
what
all
was
the
the
bike
like
stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It was high. It was Paramount. Shout out to Paramount Studios. But
they had the money for it. They
man, yeah, no, it was intense. But we had great stunt doubles though. But it was cool, the stuff that we did get to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Chloe, we got some more fan questions before we close it out.
I think we can take one more.
Let's see.
And it's from the Jor again. He says, what are you passionate about besides acting? And how do you execute those things, you know, kind of while working on auditions and stuff too?
Good job. Jordan trying to take over the interview. I see you, Jordan.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm very passionate about writing and creating stories and producing those stories. And at the moment, painting and that bridge into fashion. With those two things, there's very different. Yeah, there's very different creative aspects. With writing, I just I'm a consumer. I'm steadily watching things. I've watched everything on Netflix and Amazon because I'm trying to, you know, see what my peers want and see what my peers are eating up, and I want to create something that is that times 10. And so the only way to do that is to watch everything that I possibly can. When it comes to being passionate about painting and my jump into fashion, I released a line of jackets and T-shirts September of last year, under my artist line GLG. And I was very fortunate to be painting. And I got picked up by a designer in London by the name of 50 Foot Drop. They hit me up and they said, listen, your paintings are amazing and we want to try to, you know, somehow collaborate and feature your art with our fashion. Beautiful. And we did a limited line, and it was great. We crashed the site in 3 hours. I sold out my T-shirts. So yeah, it was dope. I was
about to ask, can I get one for my birthday? My birthday.
But I am currently working on the second, line. I'm doing my my fashion in seasons and episodes. So I'm doing a little bit different. A lot of people in fashion do seasons, but I'm doing mine's in seasons and episodes. So every season will be the year, and every episode will be the drop. So hopefully we'll get a season 20 episode 1 drop as long as this quarantine lets up. But me bridging those gaps is really what keeps me passionate, and finding a way to say, this industry right here, I haven't tapped that. Okay, cool. Let me figure out how to capitalize and put my fingers in that too, because it's never too much, and not with money, because I'm not talking greed. I'm just talking knowledge and just the intelligence to move around every industry, because at that point, then you can never have a ceiling, and you can never have always whatever your limit is. It's like, I'm never gonna reach a bottom to the point where I can't get back up, and I'm never gonna reach the top of this ever. And without that mindset, I don't do anything. So that's kind of my approach with fashion. And shout out to Cross Colors who I love and I'm sponsored by. Great Line, who is
Nice.
coming back.
Oh, Cross Colors. Listen,
Yeah, they're
I love the
80s
'90s,
and
so that's perfect.
and they are making a resurgence. Cross Colors LA, they're amazing. We are possibly working on a spring campaign where I'm going to be modeling their new stuff, hopefully. And yeah, that would be amazing if, like I said, we can get this to let up and we can get that rolling. But yeah, that is something that is definitely I'm becoming way more passionate about.
All right, well, dope. Gary, thank you for jumping on, man. Once again, y'all, I told y'all he was coming. They was worried at first.
I
We
know.
got you
I'm so
on him.
sorry, y'all. Like I said, I thought it was 6 p.m. But I'm getting ready. I'm like, yo, we good. About an hour left. I'm ready. Psych. Yeah, no, I got y'all. I would never leave y'all out there like that.
But tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find your art, everything that's coming
Yes,
up, how they can support you and anything that you're doing. Just drop all that info for us.
Yes.
definitely. Wow, I see somebody said Keys to Poetry in there, and that is somebody that knows about my boy band group because that was the name of the group. So that
Wow.
is a real fan right there. Wow.
Yeah, they say rap.
So you can find me at Gary L. Gray on pretty much everything. So that's Twitter, and that is Gray when it comes to Gray, not EY. So it's just the same letters, just flipped around. I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram. With my art, you can
Yes.
usually find me posting it on Instagram. And I'm working on a website right now with a designer to, set up my art and everything. But until then, everything that I post, I don't do commissions. I'm sorry. That's just my best way not to disappoint anybody, because if I can't take something or if I'm too busy, I don't want it to be backed up or anything. So if you see something you like, buy it. Hit me up. First come, first serve. I'm very fair with my prices. I work with you. Just the chance and to have my art, in your home or your studio or whatever is great enough for me. And when it does blow up, then hey, you can say you got, one of the originals,
Got it first.
So when it comes to that, you can find it all on Instagram. I usually post my pictures, all that everywhere. Looking forward, I have a poetry album that I'm working on. I'm a very active
Nice.
spoken word poet, so that will be coming probably very soon. I would say in the next month or two, once I can get everything ready to go and packaged up. And that will be on streaming services, hopefully Google Play Music and Spotify for sure. I'm going to be working on Apple Music and the others for sure, though.
Oh, the guy said he says Terrence. He produced y'all. This was y'all producer.
Oh, that's Terrence. Oh, that is definitely our producer for Keys to Poetry. Wow, he's in there. There we go. So yeah, no, that is definitely Terrence and our boy Joey French were our main producers for that album, and yeah, they produced a kick-ass album. And like I said, you could play any of those songs today, and it'll probably hold up. And that's the crazy part. So they are very talented. Terrence is an amazing gospel producer. Shout him out. So yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you, Gary, for coming through the kickback. Thank you guys for
Thank you, brother.
watching. Make sure that you guys go follow him and check out all of his projects. If you just want a little bit of nostalgia, you